All right. Well, it looks like it's 12 o'clock on the button. I want to be mindful of your time. I appreciate you all being here. We have an hour today. I've got some uh, great information around sleep to present to you, but I also want to take advantage in a good way of you all committing this time for this presentation, and hopefully we can really encourage you all to rest, relax, and re-energize for the day. I'll introduce myself. My name is Richard Michio. I'm a licensed clinical social worker with the Health Center at Auraria. I do direct clinical work, therapeutic work here out of the Health Center. I'm also the Assistant Director of Educational Services, Marketing and Inclusion here. So a lot of outreach programming through social media, virtual events. When we were here in person, a lot of in-person tabling and events here on campus. I'm grateful that I get to be able to still do these things with you all, even in a virtual space. I appreciate you all being here. It's lunch hour. We're in a really hectic time right now, not only academically, but sociopolitically. There's a lot going on today. So I really appreciate you all being here and joining in on the conversation. This is Sleep Well, Live Well. We're looking at sleep, or the issues that maybe we have with sleep and what impact it has on our overall well-being. Hopefully today you can come out with some great information and apply it as you leave and right away. That's really the push for a lot of the outreach and education that we do, is that you come away with practical skills that you can put into practice as soon as possible. So for today, some of my goals, I hope to provide you with a little bit of background information on sleep data specific to college students. Bringing in some data from national surveys, as well as information that we've gathered from here on campus, really looking at why sleep is so important for our overall well-being and our daily functioning, factors contributing to sleep issues, things that we do or don't do that may be contributing to us being able to get to sleep, the amount of sleep that we do get and the quality of sleep that we get. Again, I hope to introduce some skills and strategies that you all can put into practice after you leave here, or even during this program. And along that line, I really hope to give you a chance to rest, reset, who knows, maybe even take a nap in the latter portion of this presentation. I've dedicated a portion of this at the very end to allow you to do that and to take advantage of the time that you've dedicated to being here. So hopefully we can do that. I plan on giving you all some relaxing music and introducing you to an app that we'll talk about a little bit later. So hopefully we can do that. Hopefully you find it beneficial, and we can talk a little bit about that towards the end. I've uploaded some information here in the chat window. Hopefully you all can see that. I've uploaded the PowerPoint presentation that I'll be using today, a questionnaire, a sleep questionnaire that I'll be referencing towards the end of this presentation, something that maybe you can do on your own time to really assess where you're at with sleep, what areas could use maybe some adjustment and improvement, maybe where you're doing well in sleep as well. And I've also uploaded the link for a survey that we'd really appreciate you contributing to towards the end of this presentation. Any information that you have and feedback that you can give to us around presentations we give, topics that we cover, only help us around programming and knowing what it is that you all would like to hear and see. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. Let's see. All right, so hopefully you can see that. There we go. Oh, so before I do that, let's see. I would like to do actually a quick poll. And I want to get a sense of you all and maybe where you're at with sleep. So quick 3-question poll. This is completely anonymous. I'm going to throw this up here and let's just get a sense of where you all are at with sleep. It looks like we've got 2 of you who've contributed, 3 there. All right, thank you, thank you. Keep it coming. All right, almost got all of you there. We got 7 of you, so I'll give it just a couple seconds here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close that. So I'm introducing these questions because these are things that we're going to look at as we go through the presentation, data that we're going to pull up, we can compare. So I'm going to share the results here. So the average average hours of sleep that you all get in a night, 7 out of 8 of you reported 5 to 8 hours. 1 of you reported 8+ hours of sleep. That's awesome to see. I assumed the 5 to 8 hours would probably be the average, and that's about where you all are at. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not good at all and 10 being amazing, how would you rate the quality of sleep you get? Looks like majority between 5 and 8. Okay, 6 and 8 being the highest rated there. All right. And let's see, lack of sleep affects it looks like all of you indicated affects your energy, affects your attention and concentration, and it affects your motivation. So these are all things that we're going to look at. Your results, your answers fall in line with the information that I'm going to give to you. It looks like you all are aware that it affects many aspects of your life. Hopefully I can solidify that in some of the information that I'm presenting today. And then in addition to that, looking at ways to maybe address those things. The questionnaire that I've included here in the chat is for you all to kind of do that assessment on your own after this and really see what areas can use improvement, how you can maybe incorporate some of this information, some of these strategies to address these areas where maybe you're not doing so well, or maybe do more of things that you're doing well. So I appreciate your answers. I'll try to keep these numbers in mind and relate it to what it is that we're looking at in the presentation. So thank you for that. Now let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right. So one of the pieces of information that I wanted to provide to you is a national survey through the American College Health Association. They conduct the National College Health Assessment every semester. Hundreds and thousands of universities contribute to this survey at any given time or any given semester. It varies given the semester and who decides to contribute and participate. But what they do is they ask about many different aspects of well-being, anything from sleep to mental health to physical health to sexual health. And one of those questions that they ask in this survey is what factors most impact your academic performance. And across the board, stress was number 1, anxiety was number 2, sleep difficulties is number 3, and depression is number 4. Historically, you would see anxiety and depression, overall stress, always in the top 3, always in the top categories. And more so over the last decade, you're seeing sleep difficulties enter this top 5, top 3 rating of issues that students are having. And over the past 10 years, all 4 of these factors have steadily been rising. The impact that it is having on academics, depression, anxiety and stress most significantly over the last 10 years, but sleep difficulties, has been regularly rising alongside these. So I think not only those who are conducting these assessments, but those who are participating in these assessments are realizing how much of an impact it's having on how you as students are functioning academically and functioning socially throughout the day. some trends that we've seen through this particular survey, through other student surveys, through other data gathering measures. These numbers actually come from the American College Health, the National College Health Assessment. So 6% of the students who participated in the survey indicated that they had been using non-prescription or prescription sedatives and sleeping pills that were not prescribed to them to assist in sleep. 42% reported that they were getting less than 7 hours of sleep on average. You all who are here today reported getting an average between 5 and 8. I wasn't very specific in there, so could be closer to 5, could be closer to 8. And what kind of struck me and what stuck out to me is that almost 40% of those students who responded to the survey, they only felt rested 2 out of the last 7 days. That wasn't something as specific that I asked, but this is really significant if you think about I'm in school or you're in school 5 days a week and only feeling rested and rejuvenated and energized only 2 of those days. That's hard to deal with. It's hard to function. It's hard to do what we have to do on a daily basis if we're not feeling rested and rejuvenated. Some misperceptions that we hear, that we come across, that I talk to students about on a clinical as well as an outreach and education level. I've been there as well as a college student, thinking that all-nighters are kind of seen as a badge of honor. You know, I was able to stay up for 24 hours. I was able to cram. I was able to get all this information in my head, and kind of seeing that as a badge of honor amongst peers. We're going to look at what all-nighters do to our body and what all-nighters do to our ability to focus and concentrate. But this is something that's still seen as something to be proud of. Another one, this perception that if I stay up all night, I have more hours in the day to study. I have more hours in the day to memorize the information that I need for this test or to write a paper. We're going to look at that and see what impact that staying up 24 hours actually has on our body and our mind and our ability to function. And the belief, and I was here, self-admittedly, I was one of those people that thought that I was fully functioning on 4 or 5 hours of sleep. I was able to go throughout my day, and we may be able to do that for a short period of time, but the amount of sleep that we lose in those days, it adds up, and it adds up physically for us as well. It's not just not being able to concentrate, not being able to focus or memorize things, but physically it has an impact on multiple systems in our body, and we'll take a look at that. So according to the CDC as well as the National Sleep Foundation, being up 24 hours is equivalent to having a blood alcohol content of 0.10. And if you're not familiar with blood alcohol levels or blood alcohol content, 0.08 is technically the legal limit for somebody drinking. 0.10 is above the legal limit. We could be considered, without consuming any alcohol or any other substances, our functioning, our cognitive functioning would be considered equivalent to being intoxicated, to being drunk. And so the National Sleep Foundation, the CDC, they recommend an average of 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Now that can be different for different people, you know, give or take a little less than 7, give or take a little bit more than 9. But on average for young adults, 18 to 25 range, and adults 25 to 60, 7 to 9 hours of sleep is what they recommend. And so to go 24 hours without sleep, we're going to see, along with maybe being equivalent to being drunk, what impact it has on our overall functioning. Sleep is actually required for memory consolidation. So this thought of the longer we stay up, the more time that we have for studying and reading and writing, and that being a good thing, it's a misperception. We actually need to sleep to consolidate the memories, to let those the new information, the studying, the data that we're gathering to actually solidify in our brain. And so to think that if we go 24 hours without sleep to do something and that we're actually going to recall these things, or it's going to be maintained in our long-term memory, it's a misperception. And so we need to be able to encourage ourselves and say, you know what, if I'm actually going to do well in this paper or do well in this test, I need some time for my brain to rest. I need some time for my brain to rejuvenate and actually make sense of all this information that I'm bringing in. There's also this, I've talked to some students about this thought process that if we sleep, it's kind of a waste of time. I could be awake, I could be studying, I could be reading, I could be doing all these things, but our brain is far from being inactive when we sleep. And because it consolidates memories, because it sheds information, it sheds things that we don't need while we sleep. If we're exhausted, new pathways in our brain can't be formed. And so through sleep, those new pathways are formed, helps us to retain that information and actually use it going forward. I mentioned that the lack of sleep not only affects how we remember things, how we concentrate, how we focus, but it affects so many different systems within our body. I mentioned memory issues. It's harder for us to recall memory or information. It's harder for us to use information in long term. It affects our mood and our emotion regulation. It can exacerbate symptoms of depression and anxiety if individuals struggle with mental health issues. It can also lead to symptoms mirroring or similar to depression and anxiety, irritability, a shorter fuse. Our immune system, we find ourselves getting sicker easier or sooner. It's harder for us to fight off just the common cold and things that are being passed around us. Higher risk of diabetes. We have a lower sex drive. One of the theories, at least for males as well, or male identified or male born, is that it affects the hormones that are produced in our body to actually increase or maintain a sex drive. I mentioned earlier we have trouble thinking and concentrating and being able to focus attention. We're more prone to accidents, everyday accidents. We're more prone to higher blood pressure and weight gain as well. Our body, when we're sleep deprived, the chemicals that actually are sent to our brain that let us know we're satiated or full, those are disrupted, and so we don't really have that regulation system to say we're full, we're not hungry, we're okay, and it can lead to overeating and overindulgence. And last thing here is risk of heart disease. And so you can see that it's not just feeling tired throughout the day. It's not just a hard time concentrating or remembering what it was that I studied last night, but there are all these different systems in our body that are affected by the amount of sleep we get, the quality of sleep we get, and the value that we actually put on sleep and what it means for us. So what are some things that influence our sleep or lack of sleep? I'm mentioning maybe 8 or 9 things here. This is not meant to be an exhaustive list. Some may struggle with mental health issues. Some may have diagnosable sleep disorders. There may be physical ailments that one's dealing with that contributes to their struggle sleeping or some of their sleep issues. And so this is just a brief synopsis, a taste of what are some of the things that you may see in your life that impact how it is that you're sleeping. One of those things, I think we can all agree, is stress. Stress was that number one academic, one of the factor that impacts individuals' academics functioning. Stress impacts sleep functioning as well and sleep health. If we're not able to manage that stress throughout the day, it carries on into the nighttime. It's harder for us to regulate at night. It's harder for our body to start that sleep preparation process. And so being able to utilize stress management techniques throughout the day, even before going to bed, we'll take a look at some of those things can be really crucial in helping to regulate our system and help us to get to sleep and get quality sleep when we do sleep. You've probably heard this 1,000 times, and you'll probably hear it a lot more, but electronics closer to bedtime and throughout the day, it throws off our circadian rhythms and our body's natural production of melatonin throughout the night. And the blue light that's emitted from our phone, the TVs, even some overhead lights from our fans or our room lights, actually interrupt the process of us producing melatonin at night and preparing our body naturally for that sleep process and to get to sleep. Caffeine. Caffeine, the amount that we have throughout the day, when we have it in the day, impacts our body's process and getting to sleep and preparing, again, those chemicals in our body to allow us to sleep and feel tired and get prepared. Caffeine itself, even though the effects of caffeine are most prominent 3 to 5 hours after we consume caffeine, that's its half-life, it can still be found in our body 10 hours after last consumption. And so it can still have an effect. If you're drinking coffee at 4 or 5 in the afternoon, we can still find caffeine in our body 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning. And so it can impact our body's ability to regulate, slow down, calm down, and naturally progress into that sleep process. Late naps. We'll talk a little bit about the benefits of actually napping, but if we're napping too late in the afternoon, if we're napping too much throughout the day, it can throw off our systems and interrupt our ability to get to sleep or feel tired when naturally we should feel tired. Inconsistent sleep schedules. I know for myself, as a case study, when I was in grad school, I had school, I had work, I had internship. I tried to have a personal life outside of those things. And because of the varying schedules with each one of those responsibilities, I was up at different times of the day. I was up later on certain nights doing homework, working on assignments, trying to meet deadlines for work. And so sleep-wake schedules were extremely inconsistent. And we'll talk a little bit more about it later, but having a more consistent sleep schedule, going to sleep at a similar time each night, waking up at near the same time every day, regardless of what your schedule is, can be really beneficial in regulating that system and actually getting better quality sleep and feeling rested and feeling more productive throughout the day. And alcohol and nicotine, these are all things. Nicotine as a stimulant throughout the day. Those who smoke throughout the day are found to have higher sleep quality issues. Alcohol, though it may get you to sleep faster, it's been shown to interrupt the quality of sleep and the amount of sleep you actually get long-term throughout the night. So avoiding alcohol and nicotine, and we'll talk about it a little bit more later, monitoring your intake throughout the day and when your last intake throughout the night is. So what are some things that you can do? There are things that we can control, that we have influence over. One of those things being trying to get exercise 30 minutes every day. Not only, I mean, physical exercise has been found to have countless effects physically and emotionally and mentally. Being able to get out, being able to get exercise throughout the day, it helps us to regulate our systems. Allows us to expel energy that may be pent up, that may carry over into the night and interfere us being able to get to sleep. Getting outside for natural sunlight, recommended 20 to 30 minutes of unfiltered sunlight throughout the day. But this natural sunlight is actually this natural process that helps to regulate your circadian rhythms. And so being able to get outside, being able to get natural sunlight, I myself, I'm here in the health center. I don't have a window in my office, unfortunately, but I make it an intentional practice to get outside and go for walks, regardless of what the weather is like. So that way I actually have some of that natural sunlight for myself, for my own mental health, but also for this process as well. So if you are able to get outside, if you're able to walk, it'll pay off in the end when it comes to your sleep. We touched on caffeine, so being able to monitor your caffeine intake throughout the day. I did mention, the half-life of caffeine is about 3 or 5 hours, so where you'll find half of the amount of caffeine in your body, but it can remain in your system for up to 10 hours. So for those of you who are used to drinking late coffees, late lattes, be mindful of what it is you're taking in, how late you're taking it in, and what impact it has on your ability to actually get to sleep and get quality sleep. Another one is avoiding large meals close to bedtime. your body is still digesting instead of getting to that process of preparing for sleep. This sometimes comes along with drinking, late night drinking. If you smoke or use cannabis, it'll come along with that as well. And so these are all things that compound and interact with each other and influence each other. So being able to monitor when you're eating, when you're drinking, it'll show to have an influence on your ability to get to sleep and how it is that you're able to get to sleep. Again, being able to reduce alcohol intake throughout the day, and more so at night, though it may help, or though it contributes to getting to sleep faster. Again, the later you're drinking it, the more impact it's going to have on your quality sleep, the amount of sleep, and the next day actually feeling rested from the sleep that you got the night before. I apologize if I'm looking this way. I have two screens and I'm trying to manage if I get any messages. So I mentioned earlier, there are these things that you can do throughout the day. Stress being that one factor impacting academics, but it's also a factor that impacts our ability to sleep. If we think about stress management, one of the things that we can do and that we do every day is breathing. We breathe daily. It's something that keeps us alive, but it's an unconscious process. We're just not mindful of it. And so if we're able to make breathing a more mindful process throughout the day, before bed, it can actually help us to regulate our system. It helps to reset our nervous systems throughout the day, so we're not in this constant heightened level of anxiety or stress or worry. And even before bed, helping to regulate our nervous system to calm the body and allow us to actually go to sleep. Two of those examples are square breathing and breathing into different parts of our body. I want to be mindful of time to really encourage you all to take advantage of some of these things and take advantage of actually resting for your day and preparing for the rest of your day. But to give a brief example, or to give a brief rundown of these two practices, square breathing is intentional breathing in that you inhale for 3 seconds, you hold for 3 seconds, exhale for 3 seconds, hold for 3 seconds. So each side of that square is an equal number of seconds. And what that's doing, and of course, being mindful of your comfortability, your physical ability to do 3 seconds or 4 seconds, whatever is most comfortable for you, but being able to have consistent breaths all the way around that square. One, it's a grounding exercise. It brings you out of the overwhelm that's in our head a lot of the days to the physical moment or the present moment and that breathing that we're doing. The counting is also a helpful grounding exercise in that moment, in that it just brings us here to the current moment. And the breathing itself, that process, the breathing actually helps to reset our nervous system. So if we're overwhelmed throughout the day, we do this for 30 seconds or a minute a couple of times throughout the day, a quick practice just to kind of help us get grounded and reset. And this is a great one too before bed to help just kind of settle the body a little bit. Another one is breathing into different parts of your body. So if you imagine your big inhales that you take, imagine that fresh air going into maybe different parts of your body where it may feel tense or uncomfortable or not at ease. And as you're imagining that inhale going in, that fresh air is stirring up some of that unease or some of that discomfort. And your exhale is actually blowing that discomfort, pain, restlessness out of that part of the body. So traditionally, I have really restless legs. It's something that I've dealt with for a long time. And so breathing intentionally into my legs, imagining that fresh air, stirring up some of that unease, and then that exhale actually releasing some of that. And so you can breathe intentionally into different parts of your body to help relax the body, and again, serve as a grounding and mindfulness exercise. Guided imagery is a great one as well. For those of you who do meditation or are looking to get into meditation, this is one that people use to kind of get started. It's hard for some of us to start meditation on our own and feel like we're doing it right, or getting enough out of it because maybe we're distracted or we judge ourselves for not being able to sit there long enough. Guided imagery helps to keep us more on track and more focused, because we can hear somebody talking, we can hear or see an image in front of us and somebody walking us through this practice, but we can also do this on our own. We can bring up a pleasant image or scene or story that we've been part of or that we've heard, and in really great detail, being able to describe that to ourselves in our head, being able to guide ourselves through that scene or through that story or through that image in as much detail as possible, being able to ground us in that moment, get us out of our head and all of the worry and overwhelm that we may be experiencing. We're going to talk in the end about maybe some apps that are available that have hundreds and thousands of guided imagery exercises or guided meditations to help in that process if it's something that you're wanting to engage in or wanting to start. Another one, and one of my favorites, I talk to students about this a lot in different settings, but progressive muscle relaxation. If you haven't heard of it, there are a lot of guided practices online or YouTube, but this is an intentional tensing and relaxing of different muscle groups in your body. So you could start with your head and work your way down to your toes or vice versa. And what you're going to do is you're going to tense your muscles for 5 seconds, and then you're going to relax for 7 seconds. So relaxing for longer than what you're tensing. So an example, if I'm starting from my head, I'm going to tense all the muscles in my face for 5 seconds, and then I'm going to relax for 7 seconds. Next, I may go to my shoulders, and I'm going to tense my shoulders, bring my shoulders up to my ears for 5 seconds, and then I'm going to relax for 7 seconds. Again, and different muscle groups, bringing your elbows into your ribs, maybe in your back, trying to squeeze your shoulder blades together. If you're laying down, pointing your toes and tightening those calf muscles. So really working your way down your body and then back up. Again, this is another grounding exercise. It's bringing us back to the present moment in what we're doing and what our body is feeling. And it's also helping to release any of that surging sensation that some people feel when they're trying to lay down and they're trying to feel relaxed, any kind of excess energy, and helps just to kind of release some of that as you're doing the practice. So these are, again, this list is not exhaustive either. These are some things that are really simple to implement throughout the day. They're not big productions. They don't take a lot of time to do. And they're small practices that you can start on a small scale and start to build upon as you learn more strategies and as you try to incorporate them throughout your day. And again, I've provided this slideshow to you all for if you wanted to use these for reference going forward. So feel free to save it, share it, and use it however you feel would be appropriate for you going forward. Routines. We may hate to hear this word, but they actually help. This is probably one topic that I've spoken to a lot of students about most, given COVID and the transition from learning and coming to school to virtual learning and online learning. If we're able to establish routines and structure around our day and sleep as well, it can really benefit how we get to sleep, how much sleep we get, and the quality of sleep. If we're able to, and a lot of the times you'll hear this conversation framed around the topic of sleep hygiene. So if you're able to get to sleep fairly consistently throughout the week, within an hour of the same time every night, waking up around the same time every day, regardless of what your schedule looks like throughout the day, it's been shown to actually have really great impact and positive impact on your functioning throughout the day, your emotion regulation, your ability to focus and concentrate, and actually motivation and energy throughout the rest of your day. In this process of establishing, these wake up and sleep times, this overall theme of establishing a routine around sleep is really powerful. So being able to establish a nightly routine before you go to sleep and trying to follow those same steps every day. You may trying to give yourself 30 minutes every night, right? 30 minutes before I would like to be in bed and I would like to start going to sleep is a great starting point. 30 minutes being, I'm putting my phone away. I'm not going to watch any more TV. I'm going to start turning down the lights or turning off lights that I don't need. I'm going to brush my teeth. Part of this may be, taking a shower or a bath, if this is part of your regular routine or something that you would like to incorporate. But dedicating this half an hour to this practice of A, B, C, D, and E, these things that I would like to do before I get to sleep, things that are going to promote me getting to sleep. And importantly is focusing on just relaxing, not necessarily focusing on getting to sleep. There are individuals who focus so much on trying to sleep that it induces anxiety, it induces stress, and so we're not able to sleep. And it's this vicious cycle of, oh, it's time to go to bed, but I haven't been able to sleep. So why am I going to go to sleep? If I try to go to sleep, it's not going to work and I'm only going to stay up later. And so it's this, we find ourselves in the kind of this vortex that it's hard to get out of. So if we're able to tell ourselves and reframe our thoughts around this process of, I'm going to focus on relaxing. I'm going to focus on my breathing exercise or my progressive muscle relaxation, or maybe I'm going to focus on my journaling before bed. The reframing itself can actually be really powerful in us being able to get to sleep and getting quality sleep. And when we talk about integrating new strategies, establishing a sleep routine, looking at these practices that we can incorporate, we want to start small. It can be really easy to try to do all of these things at once, and it can be overwhelming. It can almost have a negative result in that, oh, I've tried all these things and nothing's worked, so that there's no point. We have to figure out these things that work for us individually. A lot of these recommendations, some of them may work for you, or maybe they don't work for me, or vice versa. And so being able to try small steps, being able to try small changes, and finding what works for you is really important. I mentioned that some people just have this history of trying to go to sleep and not being able to get to sleep. I've had those nights where I've laid in bed and I'm sitting there staring at my wall and just wishing that all I could do is just fall asleep, just get some sleep, get some sleep. And it makes things worse. And so if after 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes after being in bed and you're not falling asleep, get up, allow yourself to get up, be okay with getting up, know that it's going to help getting back to sleep. What we want to try to do is avoid making those negative associations with our bed and with sleep. Again, that vortex that we find ourselves in of I can't get to sleep, I'm not going to be able to get to sleep, trying to sleep is just overwhelming. We don't want to get there. So if we're not able to sleep, if we're finding it hard to relax and just settle in, get out of bed, get up, go get a drink of water, maybe go sit down and read a magazine, read a book, maybe something not as interesting or intriguing that you would normally read throughout the day. Maybe even jot down some ideas or thoughts that are maybe going through your head on a journal or a notepad. Just externalizing some of that jumbled thought process that's kind of going on in your head before you go to bed. It's not necessarily that these are all things that you have to do, but it's the process of actually just getting it out of your head, knowing you have these thoughts somewhere that you can see, somewhere that you can refer to later if you need to, or the next day if you need to. Again, if you're having trouble sleeping, do something calming. Do it in low light before going back to bed. Read, do stretches, try another relaxation exercise. If maybe you tried square breathing and that didn't work before bed, maybe try the intentional breathing or breathing into different parts of your body. Maybe try the progressive muscle relaxation. It's all about trying new things to figure out what works for you and what works best. So going forward from here, I've included, again, in the chat, I've included the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index. This is a self-rating. You could do it with a professional, but this is something that you can do on your own as well. It tells you how to score it at the end, and it gives you a sense of how you're doing, what your bed or what your sleep health looks like. It may give you a sense of, again, areas where you could improve, areas where you may be able to incorporate some of these strategies to help. And just get a sense, and you may be able to use this again later down the line if you decide to incorporate some of these practices and really get a comparison. Where am I today, or where was I today versus 3 months from now. So this is just a resource for you all to have. We're not going to go through it today just because of time, but I wanted you all to have it just to kind of use on your own time and just for further reflection on your own sleep and using it going forward. We're all part of the World Wide Web, and we all have dozens, if not hundreds of apps on our phones and our computers and our tablets. Some of the apps that We've looked at some of the apps that we recommend are here on the screen. The Calm app, Insight Timer. One of my favorites that I use on a regular basis for sleep is Relax Melodies. Another one is Nature Sounds. These are all apps that have varying degrees of free resources when it comes to ambient music, sleep music, meditations, guided meditations. Insight Timer has the largest, one of the largest libraries of meditations and guided meditations that are free. And so anything from 5 minutes long to 4 hours long, if you really wanted to. I'm actually going to bring in one of the sleep music examples towards the end here, so that way you all can see it. And I'm going to use that to encourage you to just rest and relax and reset for the rest of your day. But these are all apps that can be really beneficial. You may have some that you use on a regular basis that I don't have here. Again, it's not an exhaustive list. If you found something that works for you, power to you. If you haven't, here are some examples of ones that maybe you can try and see if they have something that resonates with you. Let's make some memories. So we talked about sleep, helping us to consolidate information that we've covered throughout the day, things that we've learned. Believe it or not, I actually want to encourage you to step away from your computer for 20 minutes or so and try to just rest, try to relax. You know, I'm encouraging a midday nap right now. And so what I've done is I've linked here, again, an Insight Timer sleep music example for you all to just to kind of enjoy for a little bit. If you're in a space where you can, if you can put on your headphones, if you're not in a space where you can nap or sleep, use it as 20 minutes of just doing nothing and be okay with that. It's really, it can be really powerful and just rejuvenating us and re-energizing us for the rest of the day. If in a minute, I'll go ahead and do that, and I'll leave this session open until noon. If you all plan on trying to take a nap, set your timer on your phone for 30 minutes. If you have that time, maybe this will help you enter that nap phase and you can finish it off on your own. If any of you have any questions, if any of you have any comments or would like more information on any of this stuff, please send me a chat. It'll go directly to me, so that way it's not interrupting anybody else who's maybe trying to nap or trying to take advantage of the time to sleep. So know that you can message me directly. I'm going to, let's see here, unshare my screen real quick so that way I can share my other screen. Let's see. So again, for those of you who would like to engage in this, I'm going to mute myself. If you have any questions, if you want any more information, send me a message. I saw one come through already, and I'd be happy to share any of that with you. This is recorded. It'll be made available through our social media platforms, and I'll put those in the chat as well. So I really appreciate you all being here. I'm going to go ahead and play this audio here. I hope you take advantage of it. Take advantage of dedicating your time for this hour and just enjoy. It was nice seeing some names. It's okay that I didn't see any faces, but I'm going to go ahead and play this. I'm going to mute myself and let me know if you have any questions. You all enjoy the rest of your day.